With breaking news, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office is getting ready to hold a news conference about the arrest this morning of 10 TV meteorologist Mike Davis. The sheriff is just stepping up to the podium. We're watching it right now. Should we take this time right now to just listen in and see if the sheriff is available to start speaking?
Okay. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sheriff Baldwin, Franklin County, and just a brief statement to make. Approximately 2 weeks ago, we received a tip regarding internet activity by Mr. Mike Davis. The tip was received by our Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. It involved a significant number of images of child pornography that were both sent and received. This establishes a pattern of behavior. 1 week ago, that information was confirmed and more evidence was gathered. Based on that, this morning, the ICAC Task Force executed search warrants at multiple locations. An arrest warrant was executed for Mr. Davis. He has been charged with pandering sexual-oriented material, second-degree felony, currently housed at the main jail. This is punishable by up to 8 years in prison and a $15,000 fine. I might mention the ICAC Task Force, the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force, made up of 13 different agencies. They work very demanding cases. They involve children victims. The nature of those investigations is very difficult to deal with. I'm very proud of the men and women that serve and volunteer to be on the task force. It takes a special person to do that type of investigation. Any questions?
Is there any evidence that he knew any of the children in these images or any sort of connection like that?
I can't really get into the evidentiary part of the case at all. Can't comment on that.
You said search warrants are executed at multiple locations. I'm assuming that's Mr. Davis's home. Was that also the WBNS studios where he worked?
I believe so.
Are you able to say how this came on ICAC's radar?
It was a tip that was received by ICAC. And I have Chief Minard in the back of the room that oversees the investigative division. So I don't know if he has any more information on that, but it was a tip that came in.
Was his arrest netted through a sting operation involving ICAC?
That I couldn't comment on. That I don't know.
Where was he taken into custody at, Sheriff?
At his residence.
You said significant number of images. I mean, are we talking dozens, hundreds, thousands?
I can only say significant.
Are you able to say, I know the question was posed, if he knew any of the children, do we know if any of them are local? Are they out of state?
I don't have it. I have no information on that at all. I couldn't comment. I don't know.
Do you know the ranges in age?
No, again, all I can tell you is they were juvenile children images, pictures.
What kind of equipment was taken into custody during the search warrants?
Chief, do you want to respond to that, or? This is Chief Rick Minard. Again, he supervises the investigations division, which oversees the ICAC task force.
Yeah, and so, I mean, in these search warrants, I mean, standard stuff that we would seize, you know, computers, cell phones, anything like that, in which you could download images or videos and, you know, send or receive those kinds of things. So, I mean, really, it's a standard, normal stuff that we would take in any search warrant related to a child porn case.
But you're able to determine that he had sent or received or whatever it was activity without actually having those in your possession?
Yeah, I mean, once these cases really rise to the level of search warrant or arrest warrant, we spent a significant amount of time and resources looking into these cases, and for the most part, we establish a pattern of behavior. And so it's a matter of not only identifying where these items or these images or these videos were downloaded to establish jurisdiction and so forth, but by who as well. And so, you know, once we're pretty confident we know who that is, that person becomes the target of the investigation, and then of course we come to.
And there's no question that it was him versus someone else living in that home?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Did he say anything to you when the arrest warrant was served today?
I didn't speak to him or specifically. I do believe that he made some statements to the investigators, but in terms of what he said, I can't.
Was there probable cause to believe that there was things taking place at his place of employment at the studios, or was that just as a precautionary measure that you guys also executed a warrant there?
Yeah, I want to get into a lot of detail in the way that we do those cases, but as you can imagine, IP addresses and so forth like that are involved in this. And so that's one of the ways we establish where these images are downloaded, I mean, quite frankly.
From the information you guys have, how long has this been going on? Are we talking months, years, weeks?
That I can't say. As the sheriff mentioned, you know, we received a tip a couple of weeks ago, and so They've put a lot of work in this in the last couple of weeks, you know, these are sensitive cases, and so obviously when we see somebody of that statute in the community who's as well known as Mike is, you know, we treat these cases carefully. We know the impact that's going to have in the community, and people are shocked. But it's a reminder that these kinds of cases really span across all professions. I mean, we've arrested clergymen, we've arrested cops, you know, folks in the media, we've arrested everybody. And so I think it's a reminder for the community of how dangerous the internet is and how we need to protect our children.
Now, you received the tip 2 weeks ago, but the court documents indicate that at least the image that he is charged with right now specifically was downloaded sometime in early August. I mean, are there more charges coming that when the grand jury hears this that you are anticipating there will be additional charges? Potentially,
and so that's the part where we'll work with the prosecutor's office, Ron O'Brien's office on this case in terms of what charges are appropriate and how many. And you know, I'm not saying this case, but sometimes you get these cases where the downloads are so voluminous that at some point you got to cut it off, you know. And so, but we'll work with Ron's office on that to figure out what charges that we'll levy and what he'll be indicted on.
Could this become a federal case?
That potential is always there. You know, typically they start at the state level, and depending on what we find in terms of more evidence to determine whether, you know, the best course of action is a state prosecution or a federal prosecution. So those are always things that we consider in these cases.
So he's taken into custody now without that grand jury indictment process.
Right.
Can you explain why that was immediate versus waiting for the indictments?
I don't want to get into those specifics about this case in particular and why we thought today was appropriate, but that's not uncommon. Not saying it's the case all the time, but it's not uncommon for us to go ahead and file the charge now versus waiting for indictment later. And at the end of the day, the case will be indicted. It'll be presented to a grand jury, an independent body, who will examine all the evidence and determine what charges are appropriate.
Anytime you have victims and they continue to be victims, you have to make a judgment call. Do you make an arrest immediate or do you let it go? And we have victims in this case, so the call is made to make the arrest.
Have victims, have detectives spoken with those victims or their guardians or parents in this case?
I don't want to get into the specifics here. But, you know, we'll continue to look at the evidence and determine whether there's live victims and so forth. And I mean, that's always the challenge in these cases, to track back how far or how long this activity's been going on, where the images were downloaded, if they're live victims. Sometimes these are just images that are downloaded off the internet, that are produced in other countries, that are downloaded here into the United States and distributed in networks, so to speak, of people who are into that kind of thing.
Did he have to purchase any of the images that were involved in this?
That honestly, I don't know that.
Okay. And just point of clarity on the search warrant at his residence versus the station. What was the key difference there? What was sought or gathered at both locations?
I think it's safe to say that electronics, things that he would have downloaded and viewed these images.
Right.
And so, you know, really the tools of the crime, I guess, is what the best way to say that.
What kind of grading were you met with at both locations, at the station and at his house?
From my understanding, he was cooperative. And the station was cooperative as well.
Was this today the first contact that you'd had with him, or did he perhaps know this was coming?
First contact that I'm aware of a personal nature, face to face. Yes.
And he's scheduled for arraignment tomorrow morning. Will he remain in jail overnight, or could he be released prior to that? And are any special precautions being taken for him in the jail?
He's not treated any different than anybody else in jail. Anybody under the similar charges will be treated the same. He'll be arraigned tomorrow. I doubt if he'll be able to get out before he sees a judge and has bond set.
He's not under any special suicide watch or anything like that?
Anybody would be under a higher level of watch, depending on what kind of charges they come in. Anybody that has notoriety, like Chief said, somebody of his standing in the community, we worry about people like that, so we do put extra watch.
He also said he was trading and receiving, these images. Was this a part of some sort of group or some sort of website? Who else was involved or connected with it?
Those are all things we'll continue to investigate.
Part of the investigation, and I couldn't answer that right now.
Opinion on what Rodney said, do you expect there to be more local arrests connected to this?
As of this time that I'm aware of, no.
And Chief, the law talks about disseminating, selling, distributing, transporting, exhibiting, displaying. I mean, which of those are we talking about?
I think it's relatively clear. I mean, you can't download and disseminate any images that depict a child in a compromising situation. And these images are not, they're not the, your typical, 5-year-old in a bathtub that mom likes to take photos. These are kids that are clearly being exploited for someone's sexual appetite.
So he's downloading and disseminating?
Correct.
Many of what you mentioned can apply. Controlling, possessing, many of those can apply.
You guys got a tip. I know you can't reveal too much, but was this somebody who worked with him, a family member who came across these images? Or
we could never reveal that at this time, who the source was.
But I am assuming it was somebody locally. You can assume that, I guess.
I couldn't say.
And do you have Rick, when you say significant, are you able to ballpark that figure? I mean, is it hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of images? Are you able to?
I would just be surmising on number. It's certainly more than one.
Was the K-9 involved during these raids today?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think so. They normally take Ruger, who is a great tool in these cases. For those who don't know, we have a K-9 who sniffs out electronics, much like you see with narcotics. And so they're a tremendous tool so that, investigators go in, search, but oftentimes, whether it's thumb drives or whatever, are hidden throughout the home. And so Ruger does a fantastic job of locating those. And so it's a tremendous tool that we utilize.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have more information later on as the investigation proceeds, but that'll do it for now.
Rick, can you spell your last name?
M-I-N.
Now to recap, 10 TV Chief Meteorologist Mike Davis is facing a felony charge of pandering, sexually oriented matter involving a minor. Investigators searched Davis's home in Upper Arlington about 6 o'clock this morning, and that's when they say he was arrested. As you heard the chief and the sheriff there say, Davis is being held in the Franklin County Jail. He is scheduled to make his first court appearance tomorrow. Again, they say this is an ongoing investigation. They got a tip a couple of weeks ago that there was something going on regarding Mike Davis, and that's when the Crimes Against Children Division stepped in. They started investigating, and they noticed a pattern of behavior where Davis was allegedly sending and receiving information. This morning, they checked his computer at home, as I said, in this Upper Arlington home there. They checked his office as well at WBNS, where, as we said, Mike Davis has been the main weather guy there over at WBNS for at least 32 years. His first time appearing on television there, 1987. He is an Emmy Award-winning meteorologist, as well as someone who's done a lot of work talking to children here in the Central Ohio area at schools, middle schools, and high schools. We did receive a statement from the general manager there, 10 TV General Manager John Cardenas. He issued a statement saying that at around 10 o'clock this morning, that they learned that Mike Davis was arrested by the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. They're currently learning more about the details, and we will be reporting more about this story. As of now, we have no further comment at this time. That was a statement again from the general manager there at 10 TV, where, as I said, Mike Davis has been a meteorologist there for the past 32 years. Of course, for an update on this breaking news story, join us this afternoon. First at 4, our reporter Ted Hart there at the news conference asking a lot of questions, getting a lot of answers. He is working this story, and he's going to be joining us live on NBC4 at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5:30, and 6, as well as 7 o'clock. And we'll, of course, continue to bring you more coverage on this story online at NBC4i.com. For now, I'm Darlene Hill. I'll see you first at 4.